In today's video, I'll be showing you guys a quick crash course on how to do a technical SEO audit using very minimal tools. So we'll be using Screaming Frog, a SEMRush, Page Speed Insights, and then just the Google Sheets, as we could see here, which we're going to fill out in the next sections of the video. But yeah, we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to give you guys a crash course on this. So I went ahead and found a website here on Upwork that people actually need SEO on. So, excuse me, people need someone to do SEO on their website. And what we're going to pretend is that they actually need a technical SEO audit. So I opened up the website here. As you could see, it looks like there are an aggregate website where they supply people with the best firms for business to business. So meaning they help source different B2B service providers, as we can see here. And we could scroll through the website and see what that relates to: digital marketing, different topics here: PPC, SEO, e-commerce, SEO, website development, PHP development, and other specifics here. So it's a really nice laid out website. One thing I noticed when I opened up this website, since I've took a look at it before starting this video, is that it loads very slowly. So I'll try to click on some tabs here, and we can see on the top corner here that this is loading and it's taking forever to load. Its memory usage is 200 megabytes, which sounds like a lot, especially for a web page where there's no videos embedded or included in the page. So, and there's not a lot of images. So that made me, right off the bat, that made me want to open up this tool called Page Speed Insights. And I went ahead and saved you guys some time, and we could see here that the scores that we have related to findbestfirms.com. One thing that I want to call out to you guys is the performance is very low here for mobile. We do know that mobile rankings for SEO are a factor, and we could read more about it here in Google. For example, mobile SEO or mobile search engine optimization is the practice of optimizing a website to rank higher in search engine result pages, also known as SERPs, on mobile devices. Helps improve organic traffic, et cetera, et cetera. But basically what this is saying here, and you guys could read more about this just by doing a quick Google search, is that we want to have a fast loading website. And there's different sections here on these tabs here, but I'm not going to go too deep into it since from an SEO point of view, these are definitely important. But as you can imagine, the SEO section is the one that we want to focus on. And these are small tweaks. I mean, small things that we want to optimize eventually, but they're not high priority. And, based off experience, we'll get to analyze that. But you can also click here to expand on the findings here and what they mean. So moving forward, we want to beef up this number to like a 90. This looks good. This looks good. And we want to improve this number here up to the 80s or 90s, since a lot of top ranking websites in Google are typically around the 80 or 90s. It's kind of hard to get to 100 unless you have a good web developer to help you out with these optimizations here. But in terms of how much this impacts SEO, and here's the key for you guys, here's an important part that you guys should keep in mind, is that these are really important things, but they're not overly critical. So if we were to measure this on a priority scale of low priority, medium priority, and high priority, I would put these like in the low to medium priority. I mainly care about having a fast optimized website, so I want it to load fast. And in terms of page experience, this looks good. It's well designed, well layout, good layout. But it is fairly slow to load, so I would focus on the speed optimization portion of that. But yeah, you can see the mobile scores and the desktop scores. So with that out of the way, we are going to be working on some more important things. But I just wanted to mention that, since the first thing I noticed when I landed on this webpage, this website, is that it loads very slow. We could see it's still loading here. I have a fairly fast internet connection, so I know it's the website, just given my experience working on other sites. And we also saw the data, the hard data from Page Speed Insights. So with that out of the way, one of the first things that I like to do is just copy the URL, paste it into a tool like Screaming Frog. I'm going to go ahead and pause this, since we can see that I'm about halfway done with the crawl on a website that's around maybe a few thousand URLs here and linked, and we could see the number down there. So one thing we could do if we want to get an idea, let's say this was complete. Let's say this was at 100. So this is important because it doesn't matter the size of a website when it comes to optimizing it with SEO. What does matter is how you go about optimizing it. So let me put this another way. You want to make sure that you have an organized way of optimizing websites, especially when they're big and they have over 1,000 URLs. So I went ahead and clicked on the internal tab. This is already pre-selected when you run this tool here. I selected all these URLs, copied them, and I went ahead and laid out some basic, Google Sheets here in terms of the different areas that we can optimize. And so we can look at the page URL, the status codes, indexability, page title, also known as the meta title, the length of this, the meta description, and then the length of the meta description. And finally, but not least, the H1s, the recommended H1s, and notes. But we're going to delete this for now because what we want to do is we want to add a filter here, and we want to start pasting in. Actually, let's undo that. We want to start pasting in the URLs, and now we can add the filters. Doesn't really matter the order, but that's kind of how I do it. And the reason we're adding all this data here to this Google Sheet is because it's a lot easier to work with than using Screaming Frog here. We want to have this data pulled up into an SEO hub, so into one centralized location that we can easily share with other teammates, or just access this file from anywhere where you have an internet connection. But also it's useful because you could share this with other people here. I'm going to close that out. Yeah, you could basically share this file with anyone. It's very convenient. I really love Google Sheets. I didn't know the power of this until I started working with different agencies and just different people in general in my SEO freelancing career. And so it's very handy for sure. I really like it. I went ahead and froze these cells. You could just select that, click freeze, one row, boom. And now whenever you scroll down to say 1001 or whatever, you could see what that category pertains to on the top tabs here. So it's a good way to stay organized and to make some notes for each tab here. But let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what I would do. So I'm going to keep copying all this data here. And another reason why it's good to use Google Sheets is because if you click on this by accident, it's going to sort all the data in a different way. So if I paste it in a different way, it's going to give me different results for different page URLs. It's going to mess up the data. It's going to make it incorrect. So we want to keep everything organized here. And so we're going to do that now. Let's go ahead and make those tabs like that. I don't like how we can't read this, so I'm going to move that here. Boom, it looks good. I'm going to jump back to here, see what's next. Page title. So whenever you're working with big sites, you typically want to be I typically go by these pretty quickly, so we can see that there's already empty page titles here for these random page IDs, which I'm not sure what they are yet. But if I were auditing the site, then obviously I would want to call that out and bring that into the client's attention. So I can double click here and that'll open this up even further. Drag this here, boom, it's already looking nice and organized. I can minimize this. Now I'm going to leave it like that. And it's best practices to include a page titles between 50 to 60 characters in length. Meta descriptions, we want this to be anywhere between 120 to 160 characters in length total. And one thing you could do is you can create a new tab called length inside Google Sheets. And we could see it's already giving me like a pre-formatted formula where it's going to count, these characters here. So if I add 1, 2, 3, it's going to add that to the sum total here. So I'm going to undo that. And now that we have the formula here for that tab, I'm just going to double click it here. And that's made that, and that went ahead and theoretically it should have done this for all the tabs. But since there's no data here, it skipped it. But if we pull this down, it's now counting what doesn't exist here. Because if you scroll down in the crawl, we know that these are also empty. So I'm just going to copy these down here since I know these are also empty. Something to make note of, but We're not actually doing the in-depth audit yet. We're just aggregating the data from our tools and we're transferring it into a Google Sheets report so that then we can make an assessment. This is a really quick assessment of a website. These are some, easy wins that you can optimize on a client's website whenever you're first working with them. And so this gives you a lot of bang for your buck in terms of SEO optimizations. We're not going to get, bogged down into the weeds. In other words, we don't want to optimize a client's website that's not going to give them results. We just want to give them results that are high impact, not things that don't move the needle, so to speak. So these are high leverage activities that are going to yield our clients immediate results. And obviously on top of this, there's more things that we could do to optimize a client's website. So we're going to stick to the basics of on-page and technical SEO recommendations here. Technical being the status codes, the indexability status, on-page being the page titles, meta descriptions, H1s, and so on. At least that's how I categorize them. So basically, the next thing we want to do is let's go ahead and copy over. If we scroll all the way up, copy this down. I'm going to hold down Shift on my computer, copy these tabs here, paste that here. Boom, that's done. Let's go ahead and make sure this formula works too. Boom, it's working. So I'm just going to drag this down. I believe I could just do, but let me go ahead and do this instead. Okay, it's not working as intended. So another thing we can do is just scroll down, or we could just copy that formula all the way down here, click Shift, boom. So I selected the cell that had the formula, I clicked Shift, and I scrolled down by holding down the Shift key, and then I just pasted the formula with Command V, which is on Mac, but I believe that's the same on Windows computers. H1, same thing, so let's go ahead and do that now. So like I said, we're just, getting some quick ideas of how to optimize a website here. Let's go ahead and keep that like that. Never mind. Let's do this. Let's move this a bit. Let's make that more broad. And I'm going to delete all these since they're a bit distracting. I'll delete this one as well. I can always make more. So this is what we have. And obviously this is a 1,000-page website, and this is just for example purposes. But one thing that you could do to give a client some easy and quick wins, even if they have multiple thousands of pages on their site, are a couple of things. And we're going to start from left to right. So you could think of this as a quick, holistic audit. And we're going to cover some points on what we could do. And I'm already getting some ideas, but I'll walk you guys through what I do. So one thing I like to do right off the bat, after I discuss with the potential client what their goals are, because doing an audit is great and all, but if we don't have like a North Star, we don't know where we're going with this audit, then we can make a bunch of recommendations, right? For the sake of optimizing the website for SEO. Which is not what we want to do. What we want to do is we want to give the client results in terms of what they want. Is that more sales? Is that more leads? More phone calls, etc. Maybe they need a better website design, because the competition based off a competitive analysis tells us that, all these websites are very well laid out. Their on-page SEO is great. It's on point. Technical SEO, great. On point as well. Off-page SEO, remarkable, outstanding. So these are things that you can analyze in the future as well. But you could go in depth so much here. But if we're looking at some of the URLs here, one thing that stands out to me are the question marks. And that just means this is a parameter inside the URL being the website name, .com, and basically all this information that I've highlighted here. But a parameter means, hey, we've given this page here some instructions. Someone was probably looking up the hourly rate, anywhere between 100 and 149, give or take. And if we open up this page, we could see more information, assuming it's not redirected somewhere else. But you can see it's taken forever to load. So I would make that a recommendation for this client to improve their site speed. And we could see that this is like an unfinished page of some sort. Top Joomla development companies. I believe this is a CMS. Boom. Yes, it is. Content management system. For those that don't know, it's like a Shopify, WordPress, Squarespace, you name it. So basically this page is for people who are looking for Joomla development companies. And at the moment, there isn't any here, or at least for the given budget that has been pre-selected, as we could see here, which is what I was referencing earlier inside the name of the URL. But what you want to do, assuming you've talked with the client, are like, you want to make sure that we could keep this or not keep this, but we would likely are going to leave it because we don't want to redirect that page whenever someone wants to go to that particular location. So I went ahead and deselected it, and you can see the page is loading, and this is likely going to change. Boom, it's taken forever, as you can see. And now we could see a list of all the other companies that do exist on this website. And so if we were to redirect that, what we might have thought as a broken page, then no one would ever reach this particular part of the page who want a company within that budget range. So it's good to know, like I said, the client goals, but also like some basic information like that. This could have been like a broken page if you didn't know any better. And it's a good thing that we're reviewing it. I'm sure that once, they have some companies that are in this price range, they'll be listed here. But it looks like at the moment, obviously there isn't any. And it's just some minor things like that you want to, pay attention to, because sometimes in SEO, these things are really easy to skip. So we could see that the status code is 200. A status code of 200 just means like this page is working great, nothing's wrong with it. So all is good there. So we could see that there's other parameters here, like some people are looking for companies with employees, and this, what looks like the 10 to something range. And you always want to open up the page to verify what this page is about. And whenever you open up the page, what you're really doing and assessing from an SEO point of view is, do we want to keep this page? Do we want to delete it? Do we want to redirect it to a page where this information is better provided elsewhere? Like, let's say we have a same page like this, but it's better built out, it's better designed, there's more information, and this is just more like a duplicate page. Then we may want to send the traffic over to another page, another location. And we do that with a 301 redirect, which is basically telling Google, hey, let's redirect this page into a new location so that people don't even see this website. This page here on this website, they'll just see like the end location. All of that to say is, there's a lot of pages here with different parameters in the URL. They're basically looking up either the hourly rate or the employee information here. But we're going to go ahead and skip that. But let me go ahead and show you guys some quick wins here. So let's say you were working on this website. One thing that you almost can universally find in all websites here are broken pages. And broken pages are denoted by the 404s. So if I click on 404s, we can see that all these page IDs or pages with the parameter page ID, yada yada, are broken. And we can see that it looks like this may be redirecting us to, nope, it's a broken page. So page ID, we could do some more research if we, depending if this was for your client, you may want to do some more research on what the page ID means. Like what I'm doing right now is I'm hovering my mouse over these, and we can see here on the bottom left side of my screen the URLs, and I'm trying to see, like, just at a quick glance, if I'm going to open up this page, if some of these URLs have a page ID. Boom, page. This might be like a P or a project ID. That may be what we're looking at here. I'm not sure because we don't have enough information to make an educated decision. But it's likely, I'm not going to say concretely, but assuming we don't need these pages, we could do something with them, because we don't want people landing on these pages and not doing anything here. We don't want them to get bored or go elsewhere because they couldn't find what they were looking for. So another thing you could do is you can build out a 404 page that says like, hey, sorry, this page doesn't work anymore, or it doesn't exist. You could get clever, or you could just keep it simple. And you could say like, hey, but there's also like this other information, or you could browse all of our directories or methodologies, and you could list out the product or the categories here related to the services that they offer, just depending on what this page might have been about. And I may want to ask the client, right? But typically this is more of like a rare instance that this happens. But at a glance, it looks like you're going to end up, if I were working on this website, what I may want to say is like, redirect these to the homepage, and that's denoted by this character here, the /. So the / is saying like, hey, let's take this URL. I'll kind of show you guys. Let's create 2 new tabs. For those that don't know, of course. It's saying like, hey, let's take this tab here, this URL, and let's send it to the homepage. That's one thing you could do if you're using tools like Rank Math, Yoast, I believe. Shopify makes you give it this format. So just something to know. Or you can also just say like, hey, just redirect these pages to the homepage. And assuming we had other relevant pages to send these people to, then we could just send them to like another relevant page. But this is a trickier instance with the page IDs. So typically you want to dedicate more time, but you can imagine if we count all these URLs here, if I'm going to do a quick selection here, we can see the count here on the bottom side of my screen. Count is 365. And what does that mean? That means there are 365 pages here that we can redirect. Whoops. Let me see if we could do this at a bigger scale here. We're just going to do this the manual way. Boom. We can redirect all these pages, And let's say that you found a better place to send these people to, then you could just redirect them to a different location. So you could see here that we're starting to build out the recommendations. Obviously, this is super easy, right, for broken pages, as denoted by the 404 errors, which we found via the Screaming Frog crawl. Boom, 404s. So all that to say is that we want to send people to a page where they'll be provided with a great user experience and something that's relevant to, what they're looking for. So another thing that we could do is we could check to see the 301 redirects. So we can see that some of these pages are already redirecting to other locations. So let's go with something simple like the blogs. Some people don't even have the / blogs on their website. And that just makes it easier for Google to see what this page is about. We're giving it context. Sometimes we're adding in keywords if it makes sense to do so. Like let's say top SEO companies or top e-commerce, companies, etc. I've seen some of these as keywords, which is why I know some of these are keywords. So forgive me for knowing that way advanced. Let's go ahead and open up the blocks here. Okay, so we could see that it's redirecting to a / version of this page. Okay. So what does that mean? That means if I try to delete this and hit enter, it's going to take me back to the original location once it loads. Like I said, it takes forever to load. It doesn't seem like a big deal now, but they have so many websites that, we don't want to make it a slow user experience for the end user. Because honestly, when I first landed on this page, on this website, it was a little frustrating dealing with such a slow website. Given the design looks great, so if we can optimize the speed, I think it would make it a lot better for the user. So remember, we're optimizing for the user first and SEO second. At least that's what Google recommends, so that's what we do. Best practices. Okay? And going back to the page here, we want to verify if we actually want to send this page over here. And since we actually have a version of this blog page with the /, I'm going to leave it as is. I would just say this redirect here, and the notes looks good. you know, or you could say like SEO, like this has been search engine optimized. I mean, I would want to open up all these URLs here and make that recommendation as well. We could see that this page here has like a period, right? So that's not going to load anyways. So which is why they've redirected people to the non-period URL, which actually loads. So that looks good. Boom. I would just say like looks good. I think it's this tab here. And you just want to make sure that all these pages redirect to the right location and that they actually work. Because sometimes even Screaming Frog gives us like outdated information. So it's good to open up all these URLs. I believe there used to be a function where you can open up all these links. Oh, there it is. So let me delete these here. If you right click and click on open links, we don't want this. We can go open these up one by one and we can say like, yep, this. Basically, you open them all up and you can see that they're still loading. It takes forever. Obviously, I'm opening up a bunch of them, but nonetheless, it's still taking up a long time. And I know because I've done this for other websites, but you basically want to make sure that they're redirecting to the right location. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all these. And we could scroll back here and we could just say like, these look good. These have been SEO'd. Boom. And now we just want to focus on are the pages that apparently are good. They're denoted by a 200 status code. So on the indexability, it looks okay. And right off the bat, since I know there's a ton of these, I'm going to click here. Okay, it says they're all okay. Interesting. Okay, great. So there's nothing that I could do to sort that. That's great. So typically you don't want to spend more time on this, but I wanted to give myself like a, I guess you could say like a harder website with 1,000 pages plus, as we can see down here. Just so you guys don't feel intimidated to work on like bigger websites. I know when I started out doing SEO, I think I used to think like 100-page website was like kind of big, or 200, 300-page website, but I've worked on websites with like tens of thousands of pages. Pretty fun. Pretty fun. Yeah. So let's go ahead and give you guys another quick win here. So we're looking at the pages with the 200 status code. So these are allegedly okay. But we're going to breeze right through this so we can give this client here some easy wins. Again, this is the client that we found here on Upwork. We're not getting paid for this. Yeah, it's a great example, I believe. So we're going to go with it. I'm going to click here for the page titles. I'm going to click on sort Z through A. And I'm going to click on this tab here. And I basically want to see, or I could click here. I want to see which URLs are over 60 characters in length. So I'm going to click shift, boom. And we can see the count is 137. So like one thing that you could do too is have like another presentation document or like a Google, a docs. I think it's docs.new. If you type that in and you're logged into your Google account, I believe you could do this as well. You could say notes for the audit. We could say page titles, notes on the audit. We could say things to optimize. Obviously, I would not turn this in as a deliverable. I do have different deliverables when it comes to like optimizing an SEO audit, doing technical SEO work on page, off page, all that good stuff. But like, this is like an easy way, or like a lean method to write these, findings. So like one thing I may want to call out is like, hey, we have 137 page titles over 60 characters in length. Okay, so that's already like a huge win right there. We can optimize 137 page titles that are over 160 characters in length. Boom, that's a quick win right there. Another thing to note too, one thing I'm looking at here, since I've highlighted this, is that in Google, page title length checker, there's this tool by Moz. They have like a free meta title preview tool, and it helps you check the length of the page titles. But basically, Google displays page titles with 600 pixel width limit, and that gets into more specifics of how many pixels are inside this word. And to be frank with you, you basically just want to stay under 60 characters in length. This is just a more precise way of like telling computers like, hey, ours is under this limit. And it's also a good way for us to verify the in fact length of each of these URLs. And one thing you could do to take up less real estate inside the Google search results is, instead of using that little dash there or the hyphen, not sure what it's called exactly, but you want to add a little pipe tool, since that's going to take less real estate in Google search, less pixels, versus, that little hyphen there. So either way, that's something you'd want to note once you're working on the page titles. And you want to do that universally for all of the pages. You want to be consistent, and you always want to include the brand name for the page title. So in case, for those that don't know, what I would do is front load the keywords here on the left side of the page title. So if I was, let's say I was the owner of this website, or if I was working on this website, kind of how I am now, I would say, let's go with an easier one. Let's say I was working on this one here. I may say like, include the keyword top digital marketing agencies. Maybe this looks good for now. I haven't done keyword research, so I can't really say until we work on the page titles. But I may keep that. And this here already looks too long, so like I may want to insert something there inside those little brackets here. And then I want to include the name of the firm. Find best firms. And you can see that they tried messing with the length here. So we have this all aggregated together here. I may do something like this. Boom. And then I may like keep track of, what I'm working on here. And let's say that I wanted to make this more descriptive, like top digital marketing agencies, and include something else there that makes sense for this page. But I don't want to sacrifice the brand name. I may just do like FBF, find best firms in worst case scenarios, right? And if the client is okay with that. Typically you won't have to do that. I think as long as you could, make this make sense here, be descriptive, include a keyword, simple, then you want to include your brand name. Super simple as that. But yeah, we already know that we have, at the very least 137 page titles over that character limit. And also, just to be frank with you all, I would want to review all of these because they're very inconsistent. So like we can see there's a hyphen here. There's a little pipe tool here, which is great. I don't like how we have companies /agencies. It looks like we're trying to keyword stuff there potentially, which is a not SEO best practices. So honestly, just doing a quick glance at these, yeah, there's going to be a lot of work here, and we can see that it's very inconsistent. So when it comes to using the little pipe here and the hyphen. So what I would do is just, copy all those, and I would want to review all these. I know it's a lot, but you could even see some of these look a lot thinner in terms of like the content size. And that may be due because the type of page that we have here. Obviously, whenever I'd be working on a website audit, I would want to open up all these pages individually. And like I said, you can you could select them, right click here, click on open links. That's a quick way to do it. But yeah, it just depends on the page. So like some of these, yeah, I may want to keep as is. But for simplicity purposes, even if I want to keep those as is, like the bottom ones, I still want to review all of them. So like I'm going to select all these. I'm going to say, yeah, there's 137 page titles with that in length, but there's an inconsistent use of, the pipe here and the little, what do you call it? This little slash here. This little dash here. And I would just want to make that known to the client and be like, hey, just so you know, like we're taking up a lot of real estate if we use these inside the page titles. And the risk that we run into when that happens is our page titles may be truncated in Google search results. And that can be problematic because the last people that click on our page titles, which will lead them to our page, that means less traffic for us. So we want to incentivize the users to have a good user experience with the page title so that they're incentivized to click which is why we want to make sure that we have the right keywords, be descriptive, and take up less real estate in Google SERPs, search engine result pages. So yeah, I'd likely review all those, but it's at the discretion of everyone here to make their best judgment call in terms of how much you want to review for the given budget. But if you've already been paid, then yeah, just go ahead and do all of these here. So that's enough on that. Let's go ahead and review the meta descriptions. Okay, so there's a lot of opportunities here. Okay, same thing here. Some of these look like we have the same name here. That's interesting, and we could see that here inside this tab here. Like if I select these, it doesn't change, or if I select these, we can see the top is changing here. This right here. So this is telling me that we're likely going to have to review all these. So it's a good thing that this happened. You see some of these look the same. So personally, I would just review all these pages here. 648. So I would say 648 meta descriptions to optimize. Some are repetitive, which shouldn't be, right? Especially if they're different pages. So some of them might be, some of them might not be. Top 8 PHP, these should probably be the same, which makes sense why these are the same. Because we're looking at the same page. We're just looking at a parameter with the different instructions on the page. Like, hey, let's look at this page here, but with 10 employees or 20 employees. Or with set budget, as we talked about earlier when we were reviewing the website, which is a good call out that I had when I first mentioned it. Yeah, either way, yeah, I'd want to review them all, to be frank with you, because there's a lot of pages to review here. So I'm just going to review all of them. And then once I'm actually reviewing the pages, I might be like, okay, some of these are the same. They're just parameter pages that are linking back to the top print design page. And we can see that it's consistent here at the very least. But they're just parameters. So it's the same page, essentially. But we're looking at different data within the page. And oh my gosh, it takes forever to load. So I'm not going to show you guys that since it's taking a good amount of time. But yeah, I would review all those here. And then I would say, and make sure to include a keyword in these descriptions. And the same is true for the page titles. And obviously, once you start building out this this audit, you can take these findings and present them in a much better way using a Google Slides deck, a presentation deck. You could find some from, I believe, Ahrefs or a SEMRush or any other Google search. You could just type in presentation documents just so you can make these findings a bit better. So that's what I would do there. So I mean, it takes a longer time to explain than it does to actually do the work. But it's a good way to also practice it by sharing it with you guys here. So in terms of the H1s, some of the same things apply as it relates to the page title and meta description recommendations. Obviously, the length for these should be a bit shorter because we don't need to write 269 characters in length here. And so, yeah, if we look up the H1 size recommendations, I believe everyone says something different. For SEO, between 50 to 60 characters, yeah, that's pretty decent. I've seen 20 to 70. That's consistent with what I've seen for sure. So 20 to 70 characters in length. But more important than that is we want to make sure that we include a keyword if possible. But we also want it to read nice. And this just tells Google more context about what we're trying to rank for, which is why it's crucial to include a keyword here in the page URL, page title, meta description, H1. And obviously you want to sprinkle it throughout the page copy itself. For those that don't know, page copy just means just throughout the page itself, throughout the different sections. And you can see this taking forever. I would also say I would link to the to the page speed insights report, page speed insights report. I would say like Google tool. And I would link to it. I would include like a hyperlink, like link here. I would say like they state, our performance needs work. And I would include details about I think there were like a 30 score for the mobile site speed performance. And I would work on those little metrics that we saw earlier. So I would definitely want to call that out, since I would say something like page speed is slow. This needs work. And I would link out to some of the benefits of this, like page speed for SEO. I would probably link to some reports here and like why it's important, how important is it. And we could say like, we could include this in the presentation document, assuming, this was for a client. We could say like, there's a resource there. Oops. Let's make sure we don't close our main document. Boom, resource here. And here's the final one, right? So that's kind of like a quick way to audit a website. I mean, honestly, that's like a topical analysis here as well. But that's already like some good work for anyone to do, right? That's a lot of work to do. So another thing I may want to do is just copy this and drop it inside SEMRush. So I went ahead and did that, and we could see that their authority score is not great. It looks like it's a fairly newer site, just given the metrics here. Organic search traffic is at 0. Keyword rankings like 5 out of thousands of pages. Keep in mind, we didn't even complete the crawl. So there's a lot of opportunities here. And on top of that, they have over 20,000 backlinks with 200 referring domains. The ratio here seems very off. This is a little alarming as well. Since when do backlinks not give you any organic search traffic, right? People should be visiting these websites as well, so we should be siphoning or sending some traffic over to our website, which is one of the main points of backlinking. So that's something that I want to consider. And if I wanted to get more context on what the page is about, I would want to see the keywords that they're ranking for. And from here, I would see like, okay, they're talking about this. And this just gives me more context on what the page is about. But yeah, that's kind of a topical analysis that we can do. You can also type site : the website name. And you could see some more information about the pages that are indexed, that are currently indexed in Google, and that Google is showing in the SERP results. But it's good to not always trust even this little function here, this command on Google, because we know that they don't have 314 pages that are populating here. In fact, we know from using this other tool, Screaming Frog, that they have probably many thousands of pages at the very least, just given this 50% crawl, more or less. So it's good to have aggregate data from multiple sources so that we can make the best informed decision for our client. And this is just like a quick, sort of like a 5, 10, 15 minute audit that you could do to find some high level things for a client in terms of like what you could do. Or even if this is your website, now you know like, hey, here are some things that you can work on based on this initial findings here. And if I had more time, I could go way more in depth. But since I want to keep this a bit more simple, and then eventually I'm going to make another video kind of showing you guys more in-depth work, but we'll get to that. Yeah, now you know exactly like what are some things that you could do to optimize a website. And you can also like use this as like as a tool to tell people like, hey, I did some work on your website and I know there's opportunities to improve your page title, just given that some of these are, let's say you did some research, some of these are repetitive and some of these can include keywords. Here's why keywords are important. Let's look at keyword data here. 300 people are looking up for this keyword or are searching for this term here, this search query, boom, boom. Here's the keyword difficulty. You could rank easily for like a 20s, etc., right? You could kind of pitch that if you are selling this service to a potential client. But yeah, that's kind of how it works at a high level. So we covered a lot of ground there, and one of the last things that I want to show you guys as well is we want to make sure that the robots file is not blocking anything inside the website here. We could tell they're using Yoast. This little asterisk here is like a wildcard, and that just means like all user agents, so like all Google robots or all other robots, like say from Ahrefs or SEMRush or someone else like Screaming Frog, etc., disallow nothing. So we're letting all the crawls be accessible to all user agents. And we could see their sitemap information. And this just tells us more information around the site architecture and the site map of their website. This is denoted as the XML Sitemap. That's what it's called. But most SEOs just say like sitemap. And there's also like a sitemap that you can include inside your actual website. Oh my gosh, it's taking forever. But basically, you'd want to include like a section. It's kind of like a categories page, but you'd want to link to it, say like at the bottom, say like sitemap. So when people click on it, they could see like, oh, they have all these different sections. We have a blog section, contact us section, right? And you could link to it similar to like what they're doing here, but inside another page. And that just gives Google more context, and it helps Google index your pages faster, since we're internal linking between all these things here and inside these links as well, assuming these were clickable like this one is. But yeah, if you want to see more videos like this one, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be dropping a lot of content these next few months related to technical SEO audits, and just giving you some more key insights on how I do SEO, how I use AI tools to help me with my workflow to speed up the process. So go ahead and check out the other videos that I'll be linking to at the end of this video.